You were born with individual strengths and a unique purpose. Don't let fears, false beliefs, or life's happenings diminish your influence. It's time to live and lead for impact. Host Kirsten Ross, expert of transformation, will help you defeat the drama and overcome the trauma that can stop you in your tracks. You'll gain focus, find confidence, and take bold action. Unleash passionate, purposeful you. Let's go.
Welcome to Live and Lead for Impact. I'm Kirsten Ross Vogel, your host, and this is episode 265. Today, I have Tom Finn with me. I can't wait for you guys to meet him. He's the co-founder and CEO of LeggUP, the first company to ensure employee retention for their clients. Spending his entire career in the insurance industry, Tom possesses a wealth of experience in employee benefits, InsurTech, business development, and revenue strategies, all central to the company's unique offering. Talent Insurance. Talent Insurance provides a single platform for personalized professional development and mental health support for a fraction of the cost to small and medium-sized businesses. Welcome, Tom.
Kirsten, great to be with you.
Yeah, thanks for joining me. And I'm looking forward to hearing more about your work and what has inspired you. And then, we might talk as we were chatting prior to the interview, might talk a little health insurance in general in the United States. So, but tell me a little bit about the work that you're doing with LeggUP and what impact you're hoping to make in the world through it.
Well, I think to understand what we're doing today, we have to go back a few years and understand the why behind starting a company. So for me, I was in large insurance companies, growing my career, leading teams. But quite frankly, I was struggling internally, and I was struggling with a bit of anxiety. I felt like I had a bit of imposter syndrome. I had this great job. I had this great team. Sort of felt like somebody else should be running it. So ultimately, I asked for a coach. I said, gosh, I got to figure this out, and I got to figure out how to deal with this on my own. So I asked for a coach, and ultimately the company came back and said, an executive coach for you at this level is going to cost us a fortune. Just keep doing what you're doing. You're doing a great job. So unfortunately, that didn't help. Ultimately, I left that company, went to a competitor, took a bigger job, and then I was offered an executive coach, which really gave me the grounding and support to thrive in my role in my career, but also it helped me personally as well. So at that point, I thought, gosh, well, I'm only making an impact on my team of 30 people. What if I could make a bigger impact in the world? What if I could figure out how to get this tool that I just used, and I could figure out how to get it to everybody, so that no matter if you're the administrative assistant or the CEO or any role in between, you can deploy support in terms of coaching to your employees anywhere in the world. And that's how we started LeggUP.
Great. So explain a little bit more about this service, because of course I am a coach. I'm a leadership coach. I work with executives and small to medium-sized businesses. So I'm really curious to hear how you're delivering this service.
Yeah, so there's a couple of key components to it. First and foremost, we have a network of ICF credentialed coaches. So we go out and we source some of the best coaches in the world that can support anybody at any level in an organization. That's sort of step one. There's about 20,000 ICF coaches. So there's plenty of supply in the world in terms of the business model. But really, then it comes down to, how do you connect the right people with the right clients? And so we built a technology infrastructure where people are able to come online and understand where they are from a productivity and well-being standpoint. So we give them assessments in how productive they are and how they're doing in their own personal well-being journey. And then we match them to coaches within our network based on their career level and based on their learning style and how they're doing again, in productivity and well-being. So we use this algorithm, we match everybody to a coach, and then we give them all of the systematic formulas around coaching. So we give them all of the topics, all of the tools, and they're able to create their own program with their coach. So it's one, people first, having the right coaches in the network, and two, technology to connect it all together.
So how much time are they getting with their own coach?
Yeah, so a company will purchase whether it's 6 or 12 sessions for each employee, and they'll have 50-minute sessions with their coach, and they text and chat in between. within our system. So you get, for example, 6 sessions with your coach, 50-minute sessions, information, resources within the system. And then, of course, people go back and forth and chat with their coach throughout the process.
Okay, great. So tell me, you shared a little bit about what personal experiences motivated you. So tell me, the impact that coaching had for you, and what motivated you to work to help make coaching more accessible?
Well, I think there's a lot of tie-ins here between performance and coaching. And the idea around coaching is that you can have somebody else figure out your blind spot. There's somebody else that can help you perform at a higher level and feel better about what you're doing. And quite frankly, coaching done well has a bit of a challenger profile to it, where you're being challenged to figure out the answer on your own. And so all of those components can inspire change within a person. And so I realized that for myself. And then I thought, my goodness, there's a big secret out there that is really helping sort of the top CEOs, whether you're at a Fortune 500 company or you're working in a small, medium-sized business. That trick or that secret should be deployed to a lot more people. And so that's really why I started the company, was to take this wonderful tool that we have in the world and these wonderful people in coaching and lift them up to give them more utilization and revenue for themselves, and ultimately, lift up the leaders and the employees of any company.
So as you think back about the impact that you've made with some of your clients, I think it's so important for us personally to think about like where we've really made a difference, because that can fuel our own passion. And that's what gives us that tenacity to move through the bumps in the road. But also, I think it can be really inspirational for others. So when you think about the people that you've served, the companies that you served, so it might be an organization and their team, or maybe some individuals, but can you share a story about one specific impact that you've made that really fuels your own personal passion?
Yeah, I think we'll start with a member story. So we have a number of members on our platform, and they reach out and give us feedback from time to time. One of the things that we do really well is measure behavior change. And so we do that with all of our science-backed initiatives, but we measure avoiding burnout. And it's one of the topics that has been really highlighted in the last couple of years, avoiding burnout at work and at home. And we had a member come to us and they were really burnt out, really stressed, getting ready to leave their company, sort of pointing the finger at the company and saying, I need a change. And when she was finished with her coaching on the LeggUP platform, she came to us and said, my goodness, first of all, she improved her burnout score by 66%. So she decreased her burnout significantly. And she came to us and said, I was on the verge of tears every day at work. I was struggling at home with my family. And she's a mom, and she's struggling being a mom, and she's struggling being a leader in her company. And she was she told us she was almost in tears. And the coaching really gave her a different perspective. And she started to eliminate some of the noise in her life, both personally and professionally, focus on what was important to her. And it ended up allowing her to be herself and bring down that sort of stress, anxiety, or perhaps the key word there is burnout. And so we hear those member stories all the time. And it's really important that we're impacting people's lives in these areas. I think, we hear those stories and I think they're important. And we always hear from HR or senior leaders at companies, well, that's great, but what about my bottom line? What about my company? If I invest in coaching for my people, I always hear this one, aren't they just going to leave? And it's a little bit of a misnomer. People are not going to leave because they get coaching. They are going to find their path and their passion. And perhaps it is not at the company they're currently at. But, I always tell people, why would you want an employee to stay at a company that they don't want to be at? So the next question is, well, what's in it for the organization? And there's a ton of value to pushing coaching throughout your organization. One, creating a coaching culture makes you an attractive employer. And so we want to attract the best and brightest talent in our business, and coaching can help you do that. But I think when we get down to numbers, I'll give you an example. We have a real estate company. It has about 2,500 employees. That's a customer of ours. And we took their turnover rate from 44%, which is really high, 44% down below 15% for their executive director positions across the country. And they only changed one thing, and that was adding coaching from LeggUP into their employee benefit portfolio. So there's really good reasons to do it on the member side and support people in their emotional health and their journey. And there's, of course, hard data and facts for the business side as well.
Great. Well, I have to agree that inserting coaching is very important. I think too, though, yes, there are times when someone finds like going through the process that maybe the current organization or maybe even that job or role or profession is not aligned with their true passions and what really ignites their fire. But hopefully they're not using, I think organizations that just want to throw money at it without kind of aligning a culture that promotes the opportunity for people to be their best and all of that. I think coaching on its own is not going to, decrease turnover as much as it could if, again, you need the culture that is aligned. So hopefully it's not throwing the money at the problem, but they're taking a look at the culture too, because that's so important.
Oh, I couldn't agree more. I think culture is where it starts. And in fairness, a lot of companies don't know how to develop culture. And so they're not sure where to start. They don't have a team that has any experience in delivering a modern workplace culture. And so they look to us for those types of resources. And if you can deploy it across your entire organization, so you employ and deploy coaching across your organization, it can really help change the culture in a positive way because people feel supported. And it's sort of the first step. But again, as you mentioned, it's not the only step. You have to have leadership buy-in, and those leaders have to be willing to change.
Well, right. I mean, ultimately, leaders create the culture because they're the ones who are creating the experiences for the employees, and that's creating the, how they behave, their thoughts and processes, their feelings, and then how they behave in the organization. And of course, when I do cultural assessments for organizations, I'm always uncovering, there's always some kind of communication snafus. There's very often can be silos and those kinds of things that, even if you have some individual departments that are just really rocking it, you need departments and individuals need others to do their best work. And so, yeah, it's definitely important to address the culture as a whole. So tell me, what is your biggest internal or external challenge that you've had to overcome, and how did you overcome it?
Kirsten, thank you. This could go so many different directions on what challenges you face. When you start any company, and you're a business owner as well, you face a lot of different challenges, certainly in terms of building traction and building momentum and finding new clients. I think that's all process. But I think staying motivated is probably the number one component that comes into play. There's so many people that start organizations or have ideas or have really bright ideas and things that could change the world, but it does take a lot of intestinal fortitude to really push things forward and maintain your focus, because there's going to be days that things don't go the way that you plan, and you really have to find that toughness within yourself to push through. And I tend to find that putting something out there in the future and saying, this is what we want to do, we want to change lives in this way, gives you that North Star that you can point to on a tough day or a tough week, or my goodness, a tough month, if that happens.
So can you share the personal story, kind of like what did it feel like for you? And then what specific strategies did you use? I mean,
Sure.
You talk generally about like a North Star and people should, but I love the personal stories.
Yeah. So when I started LeggUP, I left a corporate job with an executive salary, and I refinanced my house, and I went cold turkey. I didn't take a paycheck for 2 years, and I used the cash from refinancing my house to survive for the first 2 years of creating the business. So I think the first specific example is, how do you fund it? How do you fund your business? And that's one way to do it. There's lots of other ways as well, but that's the way I did it. I think second is, you've got to find some people that you trust and that you can work with. So whether that's a co-founder, I found mine in grad school. So I went to graduate school, got my MBA, and that's where I met my co-founder. So he balances me out because he's very technical, he's very project management based, and he thinks differently. But what ties us together is our core values. We've been able to make that successful. So sort of financial. And then the second bullet would be, surround yourself with people of like minds. And then I would say the third part which is a little squishy, is that you've just got to get up and do the hard work. And I can't really put a number on that. You've got to get up and do the hard work to push your business forward. And those days are not always easy. What that looks like for me specifically is making sales phone calls, reaching out to people, putting myself out there, being vulnerable and saying, please come be an early stage client, a couple of years ago when we were doing that. Those are sort of the three things that I think of when I think about actually laying the foundation of the company.
Great. Thanks for that. That'll be helpful for others. And yeah, that is a lot of tenacity putting your house, getting the second mortgage on your house. And I love that. That's, burning the boat. You gotta make it successful. So tell me, what words of wisdom do you have for others who are wanting to make their own impact in the world?
The best way to think about making an impact is to find something that you love and find something that you're passionate about. Impact doesn't have to be fiscal. It certainly doesn't have to be financial. It helps to have a little money behind you to create change. But when you find something that you love, and people talk about this all the time, right? Find a job you love, you'll never work a day in your life. But there is some truth to it. And if you can find something that you're really passionate about, it doesn't matter if it's rescuing animals or, redesigning spaceships or anything in between, as long as you love what you do, you can make an impact with others because you'll put the weight of your passion and your soul doing. And I think that's so important. I always tell people, don't take a job for one reason or another. It's location, it's work from home, it pays a lot of money. Whatever it is will burn you out if it's not passion, if it's not love, if it's not something you deeply care about. And so it is so important to find that. And you can find it at 20 years old. You can find it at 60 years old, at 70 years old. It doesn't matter when you find it in your lifespan, but you got to go find it. For me, it was 36, 37 is when I kind of figured it out. But I had a lot of long hours working in big corporations, trying to figure it out. And it was a challenge. But I think finding your passion is first and foremost for me.
Yeah, that's so important. I mean, life's too short. And, really that we are given these gifts to use in the service of others. And passion is that litmus test that tells us that we're heading in the right direction. And those that have listened to this podcast over time have heard me many times talk about kind of the two key factors of finding your passion. And it's how you're spending your time. What are the kinds of tasks that you just absolutely are gifted in and love and that really energize you? And then what is the impact that you want to work to be making with those skills and gifts, because there's a million different ways that we can insert ourselves as a resource into the world. But when you find those two things together, that is your sweet spot. And that is amazing if you can live a life where those two things combined and you're really working to make that difference that you are put on the earth to do.
I completely agree. It's so important, and it'll mean so much more to people when you figure out what that is. Your life just has a little bit more meaning to it. Not to say that it didn't before, but you just find this additional energy or maybe a different gear, so to speak, when you put your passion down and figure out how to move it forward.
Well, and as I always say, if you are going to start a nonprofit or a business or something, you better love the core of the work tremendously because, especially in the beginning, you're going to be wearing all the different hats and again, uncovering challenges, and there'll be like things to celebrate for sure. But passion is what will give you that tenacity to keep moving forward and not give up. And so you really want to be doing something that you love for sure.
So the test I always use for passion and doing something you love, do you look forward to Monday mornings? And I got to tell you, I absolutely love coming to work. I love Monday mornings, but most don't. So if you're the type of person that says happy Friday to everybody you talk to on Fridays because you're so excited to get into the weekend, you're probably not quite there yet. My favorite saying is happy Monday. Let's get to work because we're creating value for people and we're having a lot of fun along the way.
Yes, definitely. Or maybe you don't even realize the weekend's coming up because, you just do that work-life blend and and absolutely are passionate and love what you do. And that is an amazing way to live. I will absolutely say that. So, well, thank you so much, Tom, for joining me today. And again, if you want to connect with Tom, you can find all of his information on today's show notes. You can find those by going to defeatthedrama.com, click on the podcast tab and go to episode 265. And if in the meantime you need some additional kind of digital support with any of the impact work that you're doing, you can definitely benefit from my 30 years of providing support for clients around this area by going to myimpactacademy.com/join. Tons of digital resources available there that you can access immediately 24/7. So get out there, make your big impact. The world is waiting. And thanks so much for joining. And thanks again, Tom.
Thanks so much for having me.